You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen every day, free on all platforms, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Today's episode, a very special one. We are joined by friend of the podcast and also friend of me in real life, Charles Tuggle. Before the season starts, Charles and I go over under predictions throughout the entire season, and then we do a midseason check-in to see how close we got. The Blazers are past the halfway mark, so Charles is back. We're talking over under. Charles, thanks for joining the program. We're happy to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me back halfway through the season.
A little 43 games. We're on the downslope, baby.
Let's go. Let's see. Let's check in, see how we're doing.
This is true. This is this stretch from MLK Day to the All-Star break. When you're covering the league like on a day-to-day basis, this is the longest stretch that there possibly is, because the guys are so tired of seeing you that, it's like you're 40, 50 games into the season and they're just like, oh my gosh, stop asking me questions. Today, for one day only, I'm thankful that I'm not on the beat annoying people. So this stretch from MLK Day to the All-Star break is a little less painful for everybody. But we are going to go over. We have 15 over-unders. Let's just see how we did. I'll run them down, and we can admit how close we were. The first one is Damian Lillard over under 37% from three. I went over. What'd you go, Charles?
I went under.
And you nailed it, baby. Damian Lillard shooting 36.1% from three. These over-unders are provided by listener Ben. Ben is as good as they get at over-unders. He mostly nailed these except a couple things out of his control. I think this is a good line. Dame was actually shooting worse than this before. He's kind of had an uptick in shooting over the last handful of games. I think 37 is a good number for him to hit on the volume he shoots. Like, I think he needs to shoot a little bit better. Dame's been incredible over the last 5 games. Was there ever a point this year where you're a little worried about Dame?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that comes with just the ebbs and flows of the team, the squad building as well. But also sort of to go out again with sort of a little injury, right? Yeah. After coming back from the big surgery. So, not significant doubts, but doubts about the top tier quality that he's been known to produce in the past few seasons. But yeah, to your point just a second ago, the last 10 games, whatever it is, 7-8 games, he's been great. Yeah,
he's 30 in 5 straight games. He's had a 50 piece and a 40 piece in there. He's just as good he's as good a scorer as has ever worn the uniform. And I think if he pushes back towards 30%, they'll be even better. They've kind of figured it out a little bit with him. I agree with you. The concern wasn't that Dame was bad. It was that the top tier, like that echelon he could reach that not other people could reach, is that he wasn't going to be able to get there with regularity. Seems to be getting there now. Our next over-under was 21.7 points per game for Anfernee Simons, which was CJ McCollum's average from 2015 through 2021. I went under. Where'd you go?
Also under.
And we were both wrong.
Close by in this one.
Oh my gosh, is it close?
Margin of error in these sort of judgments or not?
No, we're not. No rounding. Or I guess the basketball reference rounds for us. So it's whatever the B-ref does. Anfernee Simons averaging 21.9 points per game. I actually feel good about this under. I feel good about this under for the long term. It's a great line. It's like a perfect line, right? But the last 20 games, Anfernee Simons is averaging 18.9 points per game. The first 21 games of his season, he was averaging 22.8 points per game. So he was over it. And now Dame's back and playing all the time and getting a bigger share of the offense and is slightly below it. I think he's going to average like 19 or 20. I think 21 is a great number, but I don't think he's going to hit 22. Like I don't think he's going to hit that 21.7. So I'm with it. What have you made of Ant's season so far?
Some ups and downs. But as the players seem to go, the team seems to go as well. It's all connected.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But he has cooled off a little bit. And this is also a time when Dame's been a bit of a resurgence. So maybe this is a healthy sort of balance at the time. And
Are
that's
you worried about them playing together?
Sure. Yeah, I am. I am. If we're talking long-term kind of prospects of the team, yeah, I am a little bit. But it's what we got right now, right?
Yeah, it's like to use a phrase, smoke what you got. This is this is sort of I think in a perfect world the Blazers would have a 6'8" shooting guard next to Dame and whatever it is, but like right now Ant is really talented. You kind of got to figure it out with the sort of questionable fit or whatever it might be, or just imperfect fit, I think is a better way to say that.
Yeah, the squad's still in a window, I think, right? Of figuring out what exactly it is. So got to roll with it. And he's playing well.
Yeah, I think his people are louder about his weaknesses than his strengths. He's good. Like he's a good offensive player. He's just, it's imperfect. The next one, I think this is pretty easy. 45 games started for Nasir Little. I was under, you were under as well, right?
Mm-hmm,
And there's 39 games left in the season. This is the first one that we got correct. We've got it correct. Nas is not going to start 45 games for the Blazers this year, although he did, after missing a bunch of time, he returned and looked pretty darn good on Sunday night against the Mavericks. More of that. I mean, it's like, what did you think of Nas when he played 17 minutes or whatever it was last night? He looked fine. I don't think we need to like...
And he hasn't started a game the whole season.
Right. 0 starts. Exactly. And I don't think he's a threat if currently constructed to break into the starting lineup. Like he's not going to steal those minutes from Josh. So we'll check back in on Nas in a little bit.
To be determined.
Yeah. I thought he started slow. He got hurt. He looked good last night. We'll see. Over under 19.5 minutes per game for Gary Payton. I went over. What'd you go?
Where am I here? I went over also.
And we were both wrong, but I don't know how wrong we're going to be there. He's played, he hasn't played very much. He's averaging 16.2 minutes.
Not available kind of on my little like score sheet right here,
Yeah.
I gotta back in on this one too.
Do you think he will end up averaging over, 20 minutes per game? Because I would say yes. I think we end up getting this one right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could play. He could help. He's not surprisingly helpful.
See a lot of him really. It's that's been a massive frustration for me. Is sort of 2 weeks from 2 weeks. Is this guy ready to play ball or not?
GP 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean,
please stay. I think he can do 20 minutes. I think that they're taking.
Yeah, I think in the little bit we've seen him, he's been good, right? Like he's been, he's not going to bring a ton in terms of scoring, but he can pass. He's obviously an effective defender, and he allows them to play those like funky small lineups they wanted to play. Like I think he's been, I mean, like with some sort of obvious caveats, I think he's been good. Like I think he's been good. It's just he hasn't played very much. So like I'm with you. It's an NA. I don't think we were incorrect necessarily. I don't think we were incorrect on this one. Let's do some more over-unders in the second segment. But first, I want to tell my listeners about Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is the personal finance app that helps find and cancel the unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show or that free trial that you never even used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you, so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. And Rocket Money makes canceling those subscriptions as easy as a click of a button. You simply find the subscriptions you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Click the button. They'll get it done for you. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving an average person up to $720 per year. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage the expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/locked on NBA. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on NBA. Rocketmoney.com/locked on NBA. All right, so let's keep it rolling. We're doing our over-under check-in. These are over-unders we made at the beginning of the season, early in preseason, maybe like a game into preseason. We recorded this, a couple games into preseason, we recorded this. We're checking back in at the 43-game mark, and our next one is over under 28 minutes per game for Jusuf Nurkic. I went under. I was a doubter in his contributions. Where'd you go?
Also under. This is a miss for me.
28.5 minutes per game for Nurk. And quite frankly, he's had some big minute nights. They are leaning on him, and your boy is really playing a bunch of minutes under Chauncey Billups. He's had pretty consistently, when they haven't been whole, right? Like missing Justice Winslow, they can't go small, missing GP and missing Nazir Little, they have less options to play small. And Nurk's been playing in that 34 plus range pretty consistently. What have you made of Nurk's season so far?
I feel like he's grown in importance to the success of the team as the season has grinded on a little bit. Which, too, I've been a hater at times.
I was going to say that you might be coming around,
but he has sort of grown into his consistency in a really great way. And I'm also thinking back to last season as well, with the way that strange and sort of depressive sort of season went. But Nurkic was around most of the time to sort of compete and play hard. And yeah, he's been playing a lot, and deservedly so, and I think impactfully so as well.
I mean, he makes threes now, Charles. He shoots and makes 3-pointers over 50% on above the break 3-pointers. Too many? Maybe a little trigger happy at times. But I agree.
How Nurkic goes with lots of sort of skills, right? Leans in and out of his moments. That's foul momentum, his 3-point shooting momentum too.
Yeah, no, I feel like when you see it with Nurk, it's like there are possessions where he's just camped at the 3-point line and he's going to shoot it when he catches it. And it's like, there was a moment against the Mavs actually when he caught it on the wing, and it was like he could have shot it because Spencer Dinwiddie was switched onto him. And it's like, this was Sunday night. And and he's like, he looks like he's going to take it. And I'm like, dog, no. And he took 4 dribbles. Put Spencer Dinwiddie on his back and ended up scoring in the post because he weighs, 140 pounds more than Spencer Dinwiddie or whatever it is. Like, he's just like, he's got at least 100 pounds on him. It's like, go punish this little guy. And like, that's what you want to see is Nurk, like, not just be Brook Lopez. But like, because Brook Lopez became a bomber and then he went away from it, but it's like, you can really shoot it, take the open ones. And when you have an advantage, like, just remember that you're gigantic, play big, shoot a little bit, mix that in, have that variety, and you can be really special. He's shooting, I believe, over 50% above the break threes, 54% last time I checked on above the break threes. Like, that's good. I can't be that critical if you make him that often.
He's playing like an oft reputed replacement for himself, Miles Turner. Shooting more threes, right? Yeah. He's playing like the player that other people say, hey, why don't we go get that guy for him?
Yeah, well, he blocks less shots and rebounds more than Miles Turner. So take your pick. I believe Turner had 30 today for the Pacers. So yeah, he's having a career year. I believe Miles. I believe Miles Turner has figured it out. All right, next over under 49.5 games played for the Portland Trailblazers. Just kidding. I skipped one. 3.5 3-point attempts per game for Jeremy Grant. I hit the over. I bet you did too.
Yeah. And I was in my little preseason notes here for these over-unders. I was thinking he'd be right there in the middle of kind of his pre-Detroit sort of numbers, attempts per game, and his Detroit attempts per game. And he's really just right at those attempts per game in Detroit.
Yeah, it's like
I thought he fell a little bit. He's shooting. He's a shooter.
Yeah, he was averaging 3.5 in Denver prior to joining the Pistons. Then he's shooting like 6 a game with the Pistons. And the idea was like, okay, he's going to have a reduced role. He'll look more like Nuggets Jeremy Grant than Pistons Jeremy Grant, and not from 3. He's having a career year. He's 13th in the NBA in 3-point percentage. He's shooting 5.9 attempts per game. That's the over that we both got correct. He's not dropping below that in terms of volume. Like, Jeremy Grant can shoot it. Like, I think some other
pull-up jumper too.
Yeah, some other parts of his game, I think on offense, like some of the ISO stuff in the post is a little bit dicey, but at the rim and from the 3-point line, Jeremy Grant is killing it. I've loved Jeremy Grant in Portland. What have you thought of him?
Yeah, I've loved him also. He was always that's the archetype, kind of the missing sort of piece of the Blazers puzzle for a long time. It's maybe the puzzle's not a championship winning puzzle, but fans have known what type of player could fit really well in that role alongside Dame and the pieces that we have, including Nurk. And Grant's kind of that player.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
his game. He fills in on nights when they need him as well.
Yeah,
Love it.
he can scale up to be a number one option. He's been pretty comfortable as a two or a second or third option, mostly a second option. He's Duke can really score. I think with GP getting a different defensive asks, I think Jeremy Grant will guard point guards less, which will make him look like a better defensive player. Yeah, I'm with you. Like he's the missing piece to make this team better. But if you think of that, like they weren't one piece away from being title contenders. If you think about it as incremental moves, which is like what the front office was trying to push in at media day, real first incremental move, the swapping out CJ McCollum for Josh Hart and Jeremy Grant. Really nice. Let's see what the next incremental move is. Speaking of Josh Hart, our next over-under was 49.5 games played for the Trail Blazers in a Trail Blazers uniform for Josh Hart. He has played 41 games so far, and I had the over in this. I had a cautious over. Where are you?
I also had over. Reading between the lines of my notes, I think I was also confidently over, really.
Oh, interesting.
No, it kind of reads like I didn't expect him to get traded, which was
right, because that's
part of the gambit of the
implication is that he'll be traded. Game 50 is January 30th. By February 9th, which is the trade deadline, the Blazers will have played 55 games. So if Josh Hart gets traded like the day of the deadline, he's going to hit this over, right? Assuming good health. But like, yeah, do you want them to trade Josh Hart? Like, what do you see as the future of Josh Hart in a uniform?
I don't want to see him traded. I like his character on the court. He is prone to some absent-minded plays at times.
Does turn the ball over a lot. Yeah.
He really should shoot the ball more often as well. I don't know what happened in the last month, but he got a little in his head or something.
It's definitely mental. I agree with you.
And he needs to shake that out. But no, I love what he brings to the team. I also don't see just in the larger NBA landscape much happening near this trade deadline. It seems like there should be, just with like a whole lot of competitive parity in the league right now. But I don't see a whole bunch of pieces moving, actually. And of course, Josh Hart would be in maybe not a major trade, but a pretty good sized trade because he is a good player and a helpful player for lots of different teams. Just
100%.
So I don't want to see him traded, and I don't think he will get traded either.
Yeah, it'll be really curious whether they do it because he helps. He's a good tone setter, good culture setter. You know what you're going to get from him. They would miss his rebounding unless they replace that skill set with whoever they get. Like he's just so vital if you're going to play Jeremy Grant at power forward, you need a really good rebounding three. Josh Hart is literally the best at 6'5" rebounder in the NBA. Like you can't get a better option there. Obviously you could get a taller person who could rebound. That's actually within the rules. I don't know if the Blazers know that, but totally within the rules. But yeah, your point about trades, right? Like I think the Rudy Gobert trade really changed the way people value guys who are good players, but not quite superstars. It's like, dog, if they traded 5 picks, 2 rookies, and like useful parts for Rudy Gobert, I want that. Like, I'm not trading you Pascal Siakam without getting that. I'm not trading you Bojan Bogdanovic without getting a haul, baby. Like I'm not trading Kyle Kuzma without getting a ransom. I think, and that's the problem. Mark Stein at the Stein Line reported that like that's kind of the scuttlebutt, not the Rudy Gobert stuff, but just like it seems like the sellers, and there are few because there's so many teams in the playoff mix, it's a big ask. So there hasn't been a lot of movement. Deadline spur action. When we get closer, maybe the ask will come down. But I think your read on it has been what seems to be the sort of insider reporting is it's like maybe nothing happens. Maybe it's all a bunch of little small moves. And Josh Hart certainly could be involved in a smaller move, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with him.
A final note on the trades, really.
Yeah.
To bring it back to the Blazers, if they were to move a Josh Hart or an Anfernee Simons, kind of due to complementary or otherwise issues, I just only see that happening for big time players, not like hauls.
Right.
To sort of Gobert example, right? With lots of picks and things like that, and like all the draft equity or capital and everything. You have to be some top players, and I just don't see those sort of popping up. So yeah, I think those guys stick around this year.
Yeah, the only thing with Hart is he's entering free agency. So it's like if you don't have a sense that he'll come back, or you don't want to, or you don't see him as like, I think he's making 13 million this year. So like say Josh gets a raise to 18, 19 million, right? If you don't want to pay Josh Hart 19 million for 4 seasons or whatever, do you move him because he's not part of the plan? Or do you just Norman Powell his ass and you just give him the money and they're like, oh man, we don't want this dude, because you get trapped with bird rights, right? Like if you lose him, you don't get magic cap room. You just pay him because you've kind of backed yourself into a corner to pay him. That part makes it a little, I think that alone makes it more likely that he would get traded, because maybe they don't want to get caught in what John Hollinger of The Athletic has called the bird rights trap, which is 100% what happened with Norman Powell. Plus, he strong-armed them into getting a 5-year deal. Way to go, Norm. Get that bread. All right, let's come back and close the show with more over-unders. But first, I want to tell my listeners about BetOnline. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action, whatever that action is. NBA games, NHL games, the NFL playoffs that are still rolling along. You've got the Australian Open and tennis. You've got soccer all over the globe. So whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it on BetOnline, plus news, analysis, even podcasts to make you a smarter, better. Don't wait. Go take advantage today. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Still chatting here with my friend Charles Tuggle, talking over-unders from the preseason on our midseason check-in to see how our predictions went. The next one we've got on the docket here, Charles, Justice Winslow. The over-under was set at 2.0 assists per game. I had the over, and I have it in my notes in all caps. I was hammering the over on this Justice Winslow line. Where were you?
I was going under. I was betting on the old injured reserve Justice Winslow to revert to form. Happy to say I'm wrong.
Yeah, dude.
I think he's been helpful in a sort of alternative secondary playmaker role in big stretches of the season.
Yeah, he's been good. He's over that line. I actually don't have it in my notes.
Yeah, I got it. He's at 3.4 assists.
So okay, I missed it.
Well clear, really.
Yeah, well clear of that line. Yeah, he's been he's a really bad shooter. And the offense was starting to hurt them because of how bad he was at shooting, but he's a secondary playmaker. And I think if you can get him out there with lineups with more shooting, which they don't really have right now, but maybe Nurk shooting more kind of fixes some of the problem. A thing he wasn't really doing as much and as effectively early in the season, but they've missed him on defense, and they've missed his secondary playmaking when he's been out. He's even with his issues, he's a better basketball player right now than Jabari Walker and Keon Johnson, who are like a combo of his two skill sets. He's better than both those dudes, even as like by some measures, like the worst offensive player who is regularly playing in the league. Like he was really struggling to shoot. But I like funky, weird players. Justin Winslow's a funky, weird player. I'm a fan. But yeah, they need him back. Like I think he's out for another at least 10 days. We'll see. And then maybe they'll be able to go more small ball with Justice Winslow, which was clearly the plan. Or maybe Winslow, who's also entering free agency, is part of one of those small trades out there. Certainly could be. He's not a Josh Hart. Like Justice Winslow couldn't help every good team in the league the way Josh Hart can, but he is like, mid-range salary that maybe could appeal to someone out there. Do you share my Justice Winslow mild optimism, or are you skeptical?
No, I share some of that. I mean, the bench has been so dreadful at times that it seems like even Justice's sort of, non-gravity, sort of non-shooting ability is good for a couple of points here and there for playmaking, attacking the rim, kicking out, just kind of basic stuff that, like you said, Keon Johnson can't really do.
Yep.
And no one else can really do either for the team right now.
Yeah, they've struggles and all, they missed him when he was gone. And also it's like on nights when Drew Eubanks just doesn't have it, it's nice to be able to go, okay, we're going to go small. And like, we'll play Justice Winslow at the 5 because he's strong enough and we'll handle it. And let's make it happen. Speaking of Drew Eubanks, our next over-under was Drew Eubanks 3.5 rebounds per game. And I had a cautious over in my notes. Where were you?
Over. I was thinking the same thing. No other no other sort of competitors kind of for those rebounds in the backcourt like that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's played a lot. He's been banging.
Yeah, when Drew's good, I think he's been useful. I feel like his ask has been extended to the point where he's just kind of reached the limit of his ability. Like, it's like, if you were asking Drew Eubanks to play 8 to 12 really good minutes, he'd be great. When you ask to play 21 minutes every night, he can get exposed a little bit. Like, he'll chase blocks. He's not an elite rebounder, but he's a good one. He's good switching into space and like when he can, get up and be aggressive, but you play him in drop coverage. He's not super vertical. So people are just blowing by him to the rim. Like, and then once teams know, hey, he can't do this, it's the NBA. They were going to ask you to do that every time you play. And I think Drew is, I think some of his struggles are getting exposed just because of a bigger role. And if he had a smaller role, he'd be better because he's like he always plays hard. You don't get cheated in the Drew Eubanks minutes. Also, great hair.
Blazers always could have one, right?
Yeah.
One well-coiffed white guy from somewhere.
Yeah. In this case,
Oregon, right?
Yeah. And Troutdale, baby. He grew up in Mississippi, but he went to high school here at Reynolds High. Go Raiders. Shout out to the Mount Hood Conference. Also, I put this call out on Twitter, but I'll put it out again. If Drew Eubanks dunked on you in high school, you can come on the podcast. If you played in the Mount Hood Conference and Drew Eubanks at Reynolds High School dunked on you, email me lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. I'm bringing you on the show. Yeah, it's a free standing invite if Drew Eubanks dunked on you.
The inbox is flooded, the hundreds, the thousands.
Yeah, I don't think I was transitioning out of covering high school sports when he was becoming a very this dude is going to go to Oregon State. He's one of the best players in the state. It took him a while. Like, it wasn't until later in his high school career that it was like, oh, this dude is 6'10" and is like really good. He was like a baseball player early in his high school career, and then he kind of figured it out. And now he's going to carve out like a 8+ year career in the NBA, decade in the league. Easy to root for.
Any player in the league has walls full of posters from high school dunks. If you made it that far, high school, you had to be tearing people apart. Come on.
Yeah. If you were getting recruited to play Division I basketball in, with all due respect to the Mount Hood Conference, shout out to the Gresham Gophers and the Barlow Bruins, but like, he probably crammed on some dudes. He probably crammed on some folks.
Thrilled to have been yammed on by Drew Eubanks in a proper high school game. That's cool.
Oh yeah, I rotated over and the shack of Troutdale put me in the locker. Yeah, no, hit me up if you got dunked on by Drew Eubanks in high school. Next over under, Trendon Watford, 6.5 points per game. I was at the under. Where were you?
Under also. Yeah.
Under he's also at 4.9 points per game. He's out of the rotation now. He's lost his spot to Jabari Walker. I think fairly. I think Trendon is probably overall a little bit better at basketball than Jabari Walker, but he doesn't fit what they want to do. He doesn't fit better on this team. Jabari Walker is a much better fit on this basketball team. Trendon doesn't shoot. He needs to get to the rim. He needs the ball in his hands to be effective, and he's not a really high-level rebounder, and he's not much of a defensive player at this stage. What he is like someone, if you put the ball in his hands, can take advantage of a mismatch. That's not what they need. That they don't need that. I'm not surprised. What have you made of the sort of Trendon Watford, Jabari Walker backup power forward minutes this season?
Yeah, we surely had sort of discussed this even when we first chatted, and this is sort of the predictable outcome really is that Trendon just wouldn't have the same role, the same responsibility with the ball for moments in the game. And yeah, you're right. Jabari's better fit, more size,
better rebounder. They need it.
It maybe feels harsh on Trendon. Still a young player, still trying to develop. Last year was great for that, so it might feel harsh for him. But the moments just aren't really there. And I can't say that's like Trendon's fault, just not the right fit for him. Maybe still needs to build some of those skills too.
Yeah, if he was a little bit better defensive player, it would be a conversation because Jabari can't shoot either, as we'll talk about in a moment. But Jabari Walker has a bankable skill of being a physical rebounder in the NBA at 20 years old. The Blazers need that. They need him on the glass. They need that physicality. He played a little bit of center when on Sunday evening when Jusuf Nurkic was in foul trouble and Drew Eubanks was ineffective, they turned to the 20-year-old to play some center because they knew they could get away with his minutes as a rebounder. I don't think you could say the same with Trendon Watford right now. So I still like, funky, weird players. I love a Trendon Watford, only shoots floaters, loves to shoot inside 14 feet off the dribble. But right now, Jabari deserves the minutes. Okay, we got some more to roll through. Shaedon Sharpe, 34.5 games played. We both had the over, and he's played 42 games. Yep.
Yeah, he plays.
Yeah, he plays and deserves to play. What tell me about your Shaedon Sharpe experience? He's pretty fun.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about him as a player, and has a lot of growth to move through. Adapted pretty quick, maybe hit that sort of like rookie sort of youthful bump.
Yeah, speed bump. Not a wall, but a speed bump. Yeah, exactly.
Having a Scotty Barnes moment.
Yes.
That happens with young players. He's super young. He didn't play a whole lot in NCAA. The athleticism is there, which we'll discuss maybe also in a second.
Yeah, in a second. Yeah.
Jump shot looks all right. I've liked what I've seen from him. He's had ups and downs, and he's still sort of growing into the speed of the game.
Totally. Yeah. There are nights when he looks like a 19-year-old because he's 19 years old. It's like, oh yeah, he wasn't ready to shoot it on that possession. His feet weren't ready, so he turned the ball over. Oh, he took a harder shot than he needed to there. Oh, he's getting blown by on defense because he just hasn't guarded people of this caliber for any extended stretches. And again, it's the NBA. They see him on tape. Go get 17. It's like, find him. Like, if you want to pick someone to pick a role, find him. But I think after a pretty rough December, I think he's been a little bit better. I think he's picked up recently, and he's playing like closing in on 20 minutes on most nights. And I think he deserves it. He's been good. I still think he's going to be a really good basketball player. I believe the comps we had in this episode, we recorded it in October, was like Andrew Wiggins. It was maybe a little generous for what he is right now, but I think he could be that, right? Like a guy who can really score and uses his athleticism to be a good defender, rebounder. Like I think he's still on track to be another Canadian hero.
Yeah, could be a very interesting player with the athleticism, the shooting stroke, the length. It'll be around. Deserved playing. He blew past that number.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 42 games. 40. He's already played. Keon Johnson, over under 0.9 steals per game. I was at the under. Where were you?
Yeah, also under.
He's 11 steals in 22 games, half a steal. He's not there. He's not playing. There was a moment where Keon, I thought, was putting it together, and then like he just can't score inside the arc. Like his 2-point percentage remains are really low. He's with his feet set, standing still, open 3-pointers. It looks good. Dribble, close out, anything. It does not. It looks bad quickly. Keon is young and he's putting it together. He's taken a big jump from being super raw last year to this year, but he's just not ready to contribute. What are your Keon thoughts?
Yeah, you trust him in stretches just to sort of get the ball out of the backcourt and initiate something really quick, and that's about the extent of his playmaking abilities at this point.
Yeah, I like that he tries hard on defense. I don't even know if he's a good defender, but he gets after it on defense, and I like that.
Yeah, the effort's there.
Jabari Walker, over under 32% from 3. I had the over.
I went under here. I'm thinking shooting sometimes isn't about sort of ability, but sort of rhythm and everything. And a young player, especially in and out of the lineups. I didn't know what was going on with Jabari. He's shooting 18% from 3 so far this year.
Can we round up? Will you round up for me?
Not a lot of attempts though. So
3 of 16, right? 3 of 16.
Let's be honest, this is tiny volume.
Last night against the Mavericks, they did not guard him. That when he was in the game, he was in the weak side, and they were like, "Go ahead, my man, go ahead." Like when he was playing that small ball 5, a little bit power forward, is like, yeah, we'll let 34 shoot. Like I'm not worried about that. He could, if my man wants to take a shot, he could take a shot. They were not worried about him. If he becomes a shooter, like league average shooter, he's going to be a good player. 3 of 16, tiny little sample size. I believe the nerds say you need to take about 750 threes in the league for it to be for it to average out. So somewhere in like year 7, we'll know if Jabari Walker is good at shooting threes or not.
Yeah, I think if Jabari hits Ben's line of 32%, the Mavs last night still don't guard him. So
100%. They say keep shooting.
Not taking enough,
Yeah, keep shooting. Exactly. The next one, Greg Brown III, over under 0.5 appearances in the dunk contest. We both had under. We did not think Greg Brown would get there, but guess what? Shaedon Sharp's going to the dunk contest, baby. Is Shaedon Sharp going to win the dunk contest?
Maybe Greg will be there throwing a little alley-oop or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe he'll do the Steve Nash head it off the backboard to Amari Stoudemire, or he'll do the puff the Magic Dragon, be on whatever those things, hoverboard, and give it to Aaron Gordon. Yeah. Is Shaedon Sharp going to win the dunk contest?
Who else is in it?
Oh God.
We shouldn't waste too much time. Do you know?
Yes, Kenyon. My man Kenyon Jr. Martin Jr., who was briefly, it's KJ Martin, but he was briefly listed in the NBA rosters last year as KJ Martin Jr. Kenyon Jr. Martin Jr. KJ Martin, though, Kenyon Jr. Kenyon Martin's son. I've got too many juniors on the brain. Really good in-game dunker. We'll see what he's like in the contest. And then the other participant is Mac McClung. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I saw this headline actually. He's not in the league right now, right?
No, I believe he plays for Delaware's G League team, the Blue Coats.
All right, just bring a few.
Here's what I'll say about Mac McClung. If you check the history of Charles and I's text messages about 5 years ago, I was sending Charles Mac McClung hoops mixtape dunks from high school. This dude has a crazy, crazy high school mixtape. But I'm not going to say a bad word in this podcast, but like, what has the dunk contest become that a G Leaguer is in it? Kenyon Jr., Martin Jr., Shaedon Sharp, and a G Leaguer are in the dunk contest.
It's done. It's done, dead and dusted until Shaedon Sharp resurrects it.
Exactly. Our man is going to bring it back.
It needs a leaper.
Yeah. I mean, Shaedon Sharp is a wild athlete. I have 2 concerns about Shaedon Sharp in the dunk contest. One, he jumps too easily. The
man jumps too high.
He jumps too high. He can get up to 15 feet or whatever. He's just
I know what you're saying here.
He just floats. Like
the fluidity of a dunk.
Yeah, it's like it's too easy for him to get up there. And I don't know if he has that Vince Carter swagger. Like the.
You can say that too. He might not have the moxie just yet.
Exactly.
To just do anything during the dunk contest,
and to get the crowd hype, to play the arena. He's so reserved. Like, you gotta like. Right. We need a little turn that dial up a little bit. Yeah. Crazy dunker though. I expect to see super super fun dunks. Crazy dunker. He I think he should bring out the 12-foot rim and dunk on 12 feet because I bet he could do like a crazy windmill at 12 feet. Like he can jump that high. Like he's.
Yeah, 12 and a few inches, maybe try to go for greater than Dwight Howard.
Exactly. Take that Dwight Howard dunk. He could do the 2 rims like JaVale McGee. Like he's got it. Like he could actually jump over a car, show up Blake Griffin. Like, he can do it. Any of them. Or like really to pay homage to Toronto legend, like do all of the Vince Carter dunks.
Yeah, those could be nice.
Yeah,
nice.
do all of the Vince Carter dunks and do it like Vince. Get them on one try. It's over. We'll see. This one we can just fly through. Olivier Sarr it was over under 0.5 NBA contracts. I said over. I thought Olivier Sarr was going to make the roster. Olivier Sarr was waived on November 18th. Did not make an appearance.
This one didn't even merit an inclusion in my preseason notes. Apparently, I don't see it in my document.
Well, we can skip it. Olivier Sarr got waived. They signed Abu Baji. Abu Baji hasn't played.
Abu Baji.
Everyone wants Baji to play, me too, but like I think I'm gonna guess the Blazers know what he is, and that's like not quite an NBA player just yet. Here's the last one, over under, as we'll close the show. It was over under 42.5 wins. I had the under because I had predicted 42. Where were you at 42.5 wins over under?
I also went under and was thinking it was close. My notes read that DraftKings odds were at 39.5.
And you were going to take the over on 39.5. Yeah. So like you were in that 40-41 range. I was at 42. So like I'm at the under only by a technicality right now, according to Cleaning the Glass, the stats website that does like the Pythagorean based on your net rating and all that. The Blazers are on pace to win 43.8 games. So like a 44 win team. They're under 500 as we speak, 21 and 22, but like they look like an above 500 team based on their sort of statistical profile. According to Clean the Glass, the Blazers are 9th in offense and 22 in defense at this 43 game juncture. Cleaning the Glass also infamously gets rid of garbage time. You don't get bonus points for beating the snot out of the last 9 minutes of the Pistons in a blowout. So yeah, I think, would you change it? Would you over under 45.5 wins? Would you change it?
That's a good question. I don't think I would.
You're still there.
Yeah, maybe I'm still at under. That's not very optimistic of me, but
you were like, man, I wish I didn't feel this way.
The West is filled with tough teams, more than
Agreed.
I even expected before the beginning of the season. So I feel like the Blazers maybe can find some form, and historically I've kind of done that some following the All-Star break. But oh man, there are lots of tough teams.
Like Sacramento is way better than we thought they would be. Utah is much more competitive than I thought they would be. You know, Phoenix and the Lakers are worse than I thought they would be. The Lakers are a little bit worse. I thought the Lakers would be like 9th and they're 13th. So I'm not like, that's not a crazy one for me, but like Sacramento being way better, Utah being much more competitive. The Warriors are a little bit worse. They're in the mud as well. Like there's just a lot of teams in the mix who are all going to finish right around 500.
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers finish, 6th maybe in the standings or something, but I don't know.
Right. They're right now, we're recording this. All the games aren't finished on Monday, January 16th on MLK Day, but like heading into Monday's games, they were 2 games out of 5th, right? Like they were like right in the mix. Yeah. Right in the mix, but also like they don't look like the 5th best team in the NBA, or the West. I mean, 5th best team in the West, but they're right there. They're right there. If they can find any form, like you said, they can get going, and they're healthier than they've been and all those things. And I think the offense makes more sense now than it did. Like I probably also, should I do this? Should we end this way? I also probably would still stick them at 42. Like I'm going to stick with my guns. I think they're going to win more than half their games, but I don't think they're going to win like 40 and 42 and 40 sounds right to me. Like it just, I'm usually really bad at predictions. So like sticking with my guns is probably a mistake, but like, I don't think that they have vastly underachieved or vastly overachieved. I think they're right where I thought they would be, which is like a team that wins half their games, and look at the record.
Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. What do you want to see? If best case scenario for you to close to for the last however many games, 39 games left in the season, what do you want to see?
I would be excited and grateful to see them get out of the play-in tournament. To make the playoff spots. To avoid, the play-in tournament.
Right. Not to survive it, but to avoid it altogether. Yeah. I think that's a good goal. Like, I think if they finish 6th in this Western Conference, they had a pretty good year, right? Like,
that would come down to some great performances at the end of the year, right? Some kind of clutch games really to sort of avoid that possible elimination scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's like, if you want them to like compete for a title or whatever, like they probably have to finish top 3 in the West. They're not one of those teams this year. They're not there yet. They are a couple cycles away from being in that conversation if they ever get there. But yeah, I think to me, that's also looks like successful season, right? Like 6th in the West, 5th in the West, 5th. I'm going to bang the drum. I'm going to be like, this team's actually had a really good year, and you have to say nice things about them. 6th, I'll hedge a little bit and say, yeah, this is kind of what you thought they would be and stuff like that. So I'm with you. To me, that feels like success. I would love to see the Dame and Ant pairing get a little hotter, like burn a little brighter, because it feels like when Dame is really good, there aren't those nights that Ant is like, oh, I also had 28. Some of that is just like there's only so much ball to go around, and Nurk and Jeremy Grant are eating up some shots. But I would love for that duo to look better on offense than it has. That would make me feel better about like what's next for the Blazers.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit seesawing at this point.
Agreed.
Hopefully they're walking hand in hand into the playoffs then.
Yeah. And when there was only one set of footprints, that's when Dame carried you. Okay, we'll leave it on that one. Dear listeners, Charles, you don't have anything to plug. Charles always plugs this.
Shout out to Ben again though for the
shout out to Ben.
They're excellent again.
Ben's the best. Ben, you're the best. At Ben_Sprouse on Twitter if you want to follow him. I don't think that's a thing Ben cares about, but that's his Twitter handle regardless. Ben, we appreciate you. Listeners, I appreciate you too. The Blazers, this is Tuesday, January 17th show, and tonight, this evening, they play the Denver Nuggets in Denver. Should be a good game, hopefully a good game. Denver's the best team in the West. This is a chance for the Blazers to build on blowouts over a bad Mavs roster over the weekend to show that they can do it on the road against a good team. It's been a minute since they beat an actually good team on the road. So see them be competitive, see them, maybe notch like a legitimately good win, regardless of what happens. Wednesday show, we'll talk about that. You join me here, tell your friends, make it your first listen every day, free on all platforms, 5 days a week. It's on YouTube. It's on wherever you get podcasts. You're going to find us if you're looking for us. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.